This is VOA Africa.
Hello, I'm Esther Githui-Ewart. It's Friday, July 9th. Welcome to Africa 54. We continue to work remotely because of the coronavirus pandemic, but we haven't changed our commitment to bringing you the latest and most important news from the African continent and around the world. This is today's Africa 54. South Sudan is celebrating 10 years of independence on Friday, but after achieving its autonomy and becoming a self-governing state from Sudan, rights organizations have warned that South Sudan's healthcare system has been decimated by conflict and a lack of investment, and now the country's health sector is in ruins. David Doyle reports.
The oil-rich nation gained autonomy from Sudan in 2011 after more than 2 decades of fighting. But by 2013, civil war had erupted, leading to an estimated 400,000 deaths and one of the worst refugee crises in the world. Under-resourced public health services that existed before independence have been further decimated by conflict and a lack of investment. According to the International Committee of the Red Cross, only about 40% of South Sudan's pre-independence healthcare centres remain functional. For recent mother Nyalel Chol, that meant a long journey when she fell sick.
When I was pregnant with my son, I got so sick that I had to go to Lear, a neighbouring village about 25 miles away, to get treatment. There was no means of transport, so I walked all the way and spent the night on the journey.
The UN's Children's Fund warns that 4.5 million children in South Sudan desperately need help to fight off malnutrition and opportunistic diseases. Mads Oyen, UNICEF's Chief of Field Operations in South Sudan, says the situation requires urgent international attention.
We are actually going through the worst humanitarian crisis since independence 10 years ago.
Even better equipped and staffed facilities are overwhelmed. At the Juba Military Hospital in the country's capital, ICRC surgeon Dr. Belene Asefa has been treating a patient who arrived with a gunshot wound. He says ICRC teams often fly patients to the hospital, but that due to logistics, it can take days for them to arrive. And in this case, that led to complications.
We have no option. We have to offer him the best treatment, which was amputation. But we are not here for not amputation. We are here to save lives, to save limbs.
The ICRC says it's provided surgeries for about 9,000 people wounded by weapons since the world welcomed its newest country in 2011.
That was David Doyle of Reuters reporting. Zimbabwe has scrapped rules requiring sole state ownership for cannabis farming to encourage investment in the plant for industrial and even medicinal use. Zimbabwe is Africa's largest tobacco producer, but authorities expect hemp export earnings to start replacing tobacco as farmers seek higher earnings from the crop. Columbus Mavhunga reports from the Beatrice farming district in Zimbabwe.
This 250-hectare farm owned by farmer Jesper Kek now has 4 hectares of hemp growing, a type of cannabis plant that has low levels of THC, the intoxicating substance of marijuana. He plans to increase his hemp production when the next growing season begins in a few months.
So I went for hemp because it's an export crop, a much more reliable market. Whereas, for example, potatoes, local crop, the market's a little bit unstable in terms of the number of people are growing and selling into such a small market. So I wanted a slightly more stable crop in terms of the demand.
Experiments raising cannabis started at this small plot and have spread to several parts of Zimbabwe. The Zimbabwe Industrial Hemp Trust is providing technical assistance and looking for markets for farmers, says the group's head, Zorodzai Maroveke. She says Zimbabwe is making a smart choice since the tobacco market is shrinking because of anti-smoking campaigns.
considering the threat that the tobacco industry faces and knowing very well that Zimbabwe heavily depends on tobacco production, it's relevant that our economy has to start looking at alternative cash crops, and I think industrial hemp tops the list. It's a green crop.
While Kek is thinking of exporting his crop, Walter Ruprecht has used some hemp produced by farmers this year to produce paper. He says cannabis has a lot of potential for Zimbabwe for both industrial and even medicinal use.
The advantages are obviously that it's going to create thousands of jobs. I mean, just in the farming areas, just like tobacco has done for decades. Hemp obviously has many advantages for its medicinal interests at the moment. However, there's huge other composites available that can be used, such as textiles, pulp and paper.
The global cannabis industry is expected to be a $46 billion business worldwide in 3 years, up from $16.47 billion this year, says Tino Kambasha of the Zimbabwe Investment Development Agency.
So it's a market that's growing fast, and we think this is going to be a game changer for this country. And Zimbabwe has also gone a step further to show that it is willing to work with its partners and investors, by coming up with an investment stability agreement, which basically further protects you against anything like expropriation or changes in law. So, which is also quite great.
Because of the new cannabis regulations, Kambasha added, Zimbabwe has attracted investors from the US, Britain, Germany, and others. That might be a needed shot in the arm for Zimbabwe's economy, which has been stuck in the doldrums for more than 20 years. Columbus Mavhunga for VOA News, Beatrice, Zimbabwe.
The UN has called Africa's Sahel region the canary in the coal mine for the effects of climate change, drought, and desertification that contributes to conflict and migration in the region. Burkina Faso rapper turned farmer Art Melody channels the struggles of being on the front line of climate change into his music. Henry Wilkins reports from Ouagadougou.
Art Melody is a well-known musician in Burkina Faso. Rapping in the local Djoula and Moray languages, his songs convey the fear and emotion felt by millions of people across Africa's Sahel region because of the impact of climate change. The Sahel is seeing the worst effects from global warming of anywhere on the planet, says the UN. Farmers are on the front line of these changes, since 80% of the Sahel's economy is agrarian. Art Melody knows from experience the negative impact of climate change on farm production, because he is a farmer himself.
It's getting hotter and hotter, so there is less rain. Climate change is a reality. Our grandparents said it used to be that the rainy season would start in April, and now it can start in July. So there's a real difference between 1970 and now.
The UN says the impact of desertification and drought on farmers is one of several factors causing the Sahel conflict in Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger. Combatants include terror groups linked to Islamic State and Al-Qaeda. More than 2 million people have been displaced because of the fighting, and more than 20,000 people have been killed since 2012, according to data compiled by ACLED.
So when there's a drought, it's a disaster, it's hell. When that situation happens, you have two phenomena, flight and fight. Either you flee because there is no way you can produce anymore, or you fight with your neighbors for the limited resources that are still there.
Conflicts often arise between ethnic groups that traditionally grow crops and those that herd livestock, since land usually cannot be used for both purposes. While this is a major obstacle, there are technologies that can help, says a representative of the Bukanabe Farmers Union.
We have a challenge in dealing with the agricultural production system and integrating it with livestock farming through agroecological actions. But there is a production system that combines several techniques and technologies in order to achieve better results.
As for Art Melody, his songs attempt to raise awareness of the plight of farmers like him.
By closing people's eyes, we will always end up destroying everything around us. whether it's plants or human relationships. We destroy everything.
Until the effects of climate change in the Sahel are mitigated, farming will likely get harder and the Sahel's conflict will likely get worse. Henry Wilkins for VOA News, Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso.
The foreign ministers of Egypt and Sudan appealed to the UN Security Council on Thursday to intervene in their dispute with Ethiopia over the operation of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Tensions have escalated since Addis Ababa said Monday it had begun its second phase of filling the dam. The Nile flows northward with one tributary, the White Nile, beginning in South Sudan and the other, the Blue Nile, in Ethiopia. Ethiopia started building the dam in 2011 on the Blue Nile as a major hydropower project, which is nearly complete. After 10 years of negotiations, the three countries still have not resolved the situation. Council members urged them to find the political will and momentum to quickly resume substantive negotiations to resolve outstanding differences. Now to Haiti, where there is a fragile peace on Friday after the nation was engulfed in chaos Thursday, just one day after President Jovenel Moise's brazen assassination. Haitian authorities described a heavily armed hit squad of 28 mercenaries made up of 26 Colombians and 2 Haitian Americans involved in the killing of Moise, 53, at his private residence in a wealthy suburb of the capital, Port-au-Prince, before dawn on Wednesday. Haiti National Police Director Leon Charles gave some details, saying that 3 suspects have been killed and 8 were still at large. 17 Colombians have been captured and they were identified by their passports. The U.S. Department of State has not confirmed the reports that 2 U.S. citizens are in detention. U.S. President Joe Biden says he was shocked and saddened by the assassination, saying in a statement, quote, "We condemn this heinous act, and I'm sending my sincere wishes for First Lady Moise's recovery." The United Nations Security Council called for an emergency meeting Thursday afternoon to discuss Haiti's crisis. In a statement, its members called for all parties to remain calm, exercise restraint, and avoid any act that could contribute to further instability. The U.S. says it will respond to requests for help in investigating the attack, but experts say the U.S. should resist any temptation for military intervention in Haiti, as it has in times of past upheaval. VOA senior diplomatic correspondent Cindy Sain reports.
Haiti's police killed 4 mercenaries and took into custody 2 others, who police say were responsible for Wednesday's attack that killed President Jovenel Moise and injured his wife in their private residence. Police say more members of the killer commando team are still on the loose. They did not say what the motive was for the attack that has thrown the impoverished country into political turmoil. In Washington, State Department spokesperson Ned Price said the U.S. is sending help, most likely in the form of law enforcement.
We are aware that the Haitian National Police, of the Haitian National Police's requests for investigative assistance, and the United States is responding.
At the White House, Press Secretary Jen Psaki said the U.S. supports democratic institutions in Haiti.
It is our view, and we continue to call for elections to happen this year, and we believe they should proceed. We know that free and fair elections will facilitate a peaceful transfer of power to a newly elected president, and we certainly continue to support Haiti's democratic institutions.
For now, though, Haiti finds itself in a political vacuum, with no president, prime minister, or functioning parliament. Acting Prime Minister Claude Joseph has declared a state of siege, as Haiti expert Brian Concannon explains.
It's mostly justified as a way to pursue the killers. It is intended to last for 2 weeks, but it can be renewed, and it allows the police and others to do warrantless searches, which of course is troubling. And there's also, it limits circulation. It basically imposes a curfew for the 2 weeks. And it also has some very broad provisions that could be subject to abuse. It allows the police basically to do anything necessary to pursue the killers.
Concannon said the U.S. has a long history of military intervention in Haiti, but should resist any potential temptation to send troops into the void now.
If you look at the most recent intervention, the U.S. did an intervention in 2004, and then that was followed up by a UN peacekeeping mission. That mission stayed in Haiti for 14 years. It spent $17 billion. At the end of that, there were more guns and less democracy in Haiti than before the intervention arrived. The UN soldiers, they brought cholera to Haiti that killed 10,000 people. They were involved in widespread sexual exploitation and abuse.
As authorities in Haiti seek to find those responsible for the assassination, the attack creates more uncertainty for its citizens, who are already suffering under soaring inflation and escalating gang violence. Cindy Sain, VOA News.
Tell us what you think about Africa 54. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Still to come. As Europe reopens this summer, experts warn the pandemic's scars could be long-term and profound for young people. We'll be right back.
Health, wellness, sport, beauty, medical breakthroughs. Healthy Living cares about your well-being. What are the main health concerns in Africa and around the world? Find out the latest on coronavirus. Connect with our experts and ask them questions.
How long does the virus stay?
Join me, Linor Moudou, in Washington, every week on Healthy Living, right here on VOA.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Since the outbreak of COVID-19 started in 2019, we've learned a lot about the virus, who is most vulnerable, how to better treat COVID-19 patients, and how the virus works. Researchers are also discovering how the virus manipulates the body's immune system and evades its defenses, as we're learning in this report from VOA's Carol Pearson.
When a virus invades the body, the immune system immediately launches an attack. But COVID-19 seems to be able to fool our immune systems. Michaela Gack is the scientific director and chair of Cleveland Clinic's Innovation and Research Center in Florida. She likens the immune system to a home alarm system that a burglar disables.
Basically, the invader, in this case, the COVID-19 virus, disables the alarm system in the house and thereby can freely, replicate in the human body and spread.
Gack says this happens almost immediately after infection.
Another key feature of this virus is that it can escape the human immune response. This high transmissibility of the virus combined with that it can evade antibody responses really makes it quite alarming.
What makes the virus even more alarming is its more contagious and more serious Delta variant, which is spreading quickly around the world. The Delta variant has become the dominant strain in the U.S. In her lab, Gack's team is studying COVID-19's evasion technique, which she says appears to be unique. She says the technique provides clues for developing medication to fight it.
Targeting this enzyme of COVID-19, of the virus, would actually, on the one hand, directly block the virus, but it would also restore or even boost our immune system. So it would have this dual function, what I believe could be very beneficial in terms of therapeutics.
Gack and her team are working with other researchers at several other labs. If successful, they might come up with new ways to treat patients with COVID-19, as well as those infected with another coronavirus, or they might discover new treatments for those suffering from other diseases that start with a virus, such as some cancers. Carol Pearson, VOA News.
European borders and economies are opening this summer thanks to falling coronavirus cases and rising vaccination numbers. But experts warn the pandemic scars could be long-term and profound, especially for young people, a generation Europe cannot afford to lose. For VOA, Lisa Brandt reports from Paris.
It's crunch time for Sorbonne University literature student Katarzyna Mak, studying for exams after an academic year spent mostly at home. With schools shuttered or only partially open because of the coronavirus, learning has been online.
C'est très compliqué de rester tout le temps chez soi.
It's very difficult to stay at home all the time in front of the computer from morning to night. It's stressful to be alone.
On est seul.
Today, things are looking up. Lockdowns are over. Schools and universities have reopened for these last weeks before summer holidays. But studies show multiple ways the crisis continues to hit Europe's youth, many of whom, like Mac, are already on the edge. Shuttered businesses, especially in sectors like hospitality, wiped out job opportunities. European Union statistics estimate more than 17% of young people under 25 are out of work, more than twice the regional average, something demonstrations like this one can't easily erase. Youth poverty and homelessness are on the rise, so is depression.
On a une série de populations et les jeunes en font partie.
We have a population including young people who are on the margins and who are just surviving. And with the crisis and their loss of jobs, we've seen a new population needing food aid, with huge lines of young people seeking food who are hungry.
Like many other young Europeans, Mac was too poor to leave home. But she recently managed to find subsidized housing. She gets student aid and a small government stipend. But it's not enough, and her parents don't always have extra income to help her out.
Mais il y a quand même Internet à payer.
There's still internet, food, and other expenses. Sometimes at the end of the month, I don't have much money left.
J'ai pas beaucoup d'argent.
Days of studying alone have also taken a psychological toll.
Déjà avant le Covid, j'avais des problèmes de stress.
Even before COVID, I had problems of stress and suicidal thoughts. It got better, but at times it got worse with COVID, especially not being able to go to class normally. It was really distressing.
COVID-19 is the disease caused by the coronavirus. The pandemic has compounded hardships for other students, especially those from disadvantaged neighborhoods.
Ils n'ont pas vraiment accès à Internet, ou sinon le travail.
Kids didn't have access to Internet. Working at home was difficult. Families are big here, and often it means sharing a computer among 4 or 5 kids.
Last year, France rolled out a multi-billion-dollar initiative to help young people get the jobs, training, and education they need. Public canteens offer lunches for just over $1. European leaders vow to fight against poverty. But the European Youth Forum, a regional network, recently found less than 1% of COVID-19 responses in the EU and Britain targeted young people.
A lost generation would be a very pessimistic assessment. What's needed is to alert institutions, whether they're at the European, national, or local level, on the importance of supporting this young generation.
Mac agrees she's getting psychological help, but says demand is high and state services are understaffed. She and her neighbors have started a chat group to give each other support and share basics like milk to get by. Mac also landed a summer job doing civic service. She hopes life will finally get back to normal, but with threats of new COVID variants, nothing could be less certain. Lisa Bryant for VOA News, Paris.
In our entertainment segment, the Pan-African Digital Music Conference, Midem Africa 2021, that took place June 28th to July 1st galvanized the African music industry into action on many fronts. One of South Africa's hottest MCs and participant at the conference, piano hitmaker vocalist, explains how in this interview with the host of VOA's Music Time in Africa, Heather Maxwell.
Hello, Vocalistic.
Hey, Heather, hey, Heather, hey, Heather.
Where are you right now?
We're in Lagos right now, Nigeria. And shout out to all the Music Time Africa listeners. Shout out to all the Music Time Africa viewers.
Thanks. You were a keynote speaker at the MIDEM Africa Digital Pan-African Music Conference that took place recently. How was that?
For me, MIDEM, was a cool initiative in terms of, cool and very important, very crucial for the culture, because a lot of people get to, enjoying our music but never understand the story behind.
Yes, I watched that session. It was really cool. What is your takeaway from the conference?
We're so obsessed with saying things in our own voice, and MIDEM Africa is giving us the voice, giving us the voice and a platform to explain, a platform to kind of elaborate on where we're going, with the whole sound, where we're taking it. And it's about, one kid from Africa can change the whole world. And MIDEM, for me, is pushing that barrier and making sure that the sound, the music, the culture, the traditions are understood worldwide,
How do you think the future of African music is looking?
My whole thing is that the sounds, the music that we make is so creative that it has to burst out into the world. It has to leak out into, United States of America, Europe, and it's slowly happening right now. And that's something that, us as Africans are very proud of. And MIDEM Africa is giving us, that platform. That's the impact that we're seeing on the African music industry, not just Amapiano, not just but the African music industry at large,
Now, after your global hit, K-Star, what next can we look forward to from you?
What to look forward to from me? I think, as a lot of people know, I've been working on my EP with Davido. That's another Pan-African move, a huge Pan-African move, that we're making to show people that it's collaboration over competition. Even though we come from different countries, we come from different hoods, we can link up and have, the champion sound. And I've got my song Gupta. I'm shooting that music video very soon. If you don't have the song called Gupta, go check it out. It's out now on every streaming platform, and that's what MIDEM Africa is allowing us to do, to be able to punt music in markets that we've never thought we would be in. So I really appreciate that.
Thanks, Vocalistic. Best of luck to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Heather.
And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, have a great weekend.